Disney's film Fantasia, an animated film from the 1940s, the relaxing orchestral soundtrack by Igor Stravinsky suddenly becomes jarred and distorted as a cartoon Tyrannosaurus Rex rears its head with a bellowing roar onto the film screen, ready to find some prey. Not so fast, Tyrannosaurus Rex. A plucky Stegosaurus is ready to defend itself, using its tail to swipe at the Tyrannosaur. It puts up a good fight, but eventually the T-Rex wins, much to the dismay of the other onlooking herbivores. This was a dramatic fight that captured the imagination of thousands of children and adults. However, this scenario is entirely fiction. In fact, if we were to create a timeline from the beginning of life on Earth to present day, the Tyrannosaurus Rex existed closer to humans than to the Stegosaurus. That is, the Stegosaurus died out 80 million years before the Tyrannosaurus appeared, according to what we currently know about the fossil record. You see, dinosaurs didn't exist in one consolidated time and place. The age of the dinosaurs is the Mesozoic era, beginning 252 million years ago and ending 66 million years ago, likely when a meteor impacted Earth and caused mass extinction. The Mesozoic era is divided into 3 geological time periods. Rocks and fossils tell geologists the story of the Earth and dinosaurs, allowing them to identify the following eras in the Mesozoic era: the Triassic, Jurassic, and Cretaceous periods. The Triassic period, 252 to 201 million years ago, is the setting for the beginning of dinosaur history and was a time of massive changes. Just before this period, the worst extinction to ever take place on Earth occurred, called the Permian-Triassic extinction event, but also more commonly known as the Great Dying. This extinction wiped out up to 90% of all species on Earth. This includes insects, reptiles, and trilobites, as well as plant life. Earth had to adapt and recover, and some estimates suggest it may have taken 10 million years for the planet to recover after the Great Dying. The Triassic period is split into 3 epochs: early, middle, and late. Epoch refers to a particular period of time, and each epoch is divided into several stages. Within the early Triassic, you'll find the Olinekian and Induan ages. The middle Triassic had 2 ages, Anisian and Ladinian. Finally, the late Triassic period included the Carnian, Norian, and Rhaetian ages. At the start of the Triassic period, the Earth still consisted of one supercontinent, Pangaea. Early dinosaurs lived on this land, but as it broke apart and spread across the globe, dinosaurs evolved in different ways to adapt to the geographical area they were in. Rift valleys, which form when the Earth's plates move apart, developed between North America and Europe, and between Africa and South America. The climate during the Triassic period was warm. At this point in time, geologists haven't found any evidence of ice at the North and South poles. Like today, there would have been variation in climates depending on where in Pangaea you were. Conifers up to 30 meters tall created gigantic forests, where reptiles dominated the land. The most common reptile on land was the Lystrosaurus, a mammal-like creature. But in the water, large amphibians called temnospondyls dominated. They looked like modern crocodiles and may have been similar in behavior and diet. Between 250 and 246 million years ago, ichthyosaurs, marine reptiles, first appeared. It was during the Middle Triassic period that a diverse group of archosaurs appeared. This group included early crocodiles, turtles, pterosaurs, birds, and dinosaurs. The archosaurs gradually became the dominant species on Earth, particularly by the late Triassic. There are still theories as to why this is. The climate may have changed, becoming warmer and drier, or the archosaurs may have just been better at adapting, filling in gaps left from previous extinctions. About 240 million years ago, dinosaurs appear on fossil records. The landscapes of these warm lands include primitive theropods, bipedal meat-eating dinosaurs, like the Coelophysis. The Coelophysis was an agile predator from the late Triassic period, likely to have fed on small reptiles and mammals using its sharp teeth. It was a lightweight dinosaur, weighing about 18 to 23 kilograms and growing to a maximum of 2 meters in length. But it provided the blueprint for many famous dinosaurs we know from later time periods in the Mesozoic era. Not all dinosaurs were on the smaller side during this time either. Fossil records show larger species like the Rheaugosaurus, an early herbivorous sauropod who grew up to 5.15 meters long. Some researchers believe that dinosaurs may have divided into two groups during the Triassic period. One group is the Saurischia, who developed into sauropods like the Brontosaurus. The other group is the Ornithocelida, who developed into theropods like the Tyrannosaurus Rex and ornithischians like the Stegosaurus. Reptiles also took to the skies during this time. 228 million years ago, early pterosaurs appeared. They were modest creatures, unlike their ancestors that would grow to have wingspans of over 15 meters long. Just as the Triassic period started with a mass extinction, it ended with one. In an area known to us as the Atlantic Ocean, massive volcanic activity occurred, releasing vast amounts of carbon dioxide or sulfur dioxide, which in turn caused huge changes to the climate. This included sea levels rising. As oceans became more acidic, life in the oceans experienced huge overturns, with the eradication of some species. Life on land also experienced huge turnovers. With the exception of the dinosaurs, pterosaurs, and crocodiles, all of the archosaurs who roamed the Triassic period went extinct. This paved the way for the surviving dinosaurs to occupy environments and develop as the Earth moved into the next period in the Mesozoic era, the Jurassic period. The Jurassic period began about 201 million years ago, lasting until 145 million years ago. The breakup of Pangaea continued. Laurasia, the northern section of Pangaea, broke off into North America and Eurasia. The Atlantic Ocean and the Gulf of Mexico were shallow seas at this point, full of marine life, from tiny plankton to huge marine reptiles, but sea levels were rising. Just like the Triassic period, there are 3 epochs in the Jurassic period, and each epoch is divided into different ages. The early Jurassic period is divided into the Hatangian, Sinomurian, Pliensbachian, and Torsian ages. The Middle Jurassic period is split into the Aulenian, Biocean, Bathonian, and Calovian ages. Finally, the Late Jurassic is divided into the Oxfordian, Kimmeridgian, and Tithonian ages. In this warm tropical environment, large plant-eating dinosaurs like the Brachiosaurus roamed, with feisty carnivores keeping them on their toes. These sauropod herbivores took advantage of the moist climate, which helped green vegetation flourish and grow. Conifers continued to dominate the landscape, but the Jurassic period is especially known for cycads. These hardy evergreen plants were so abundant that some people refer to the Jurassic period as the age of cycads. The earliest known bird, Archaeopteryx, flew the skies of the late Jurassic, sharing the space with pterosaurs and flying reptiles. This is the time period where we find the 25 feet long Stegosaurus. This armored dinosaur is famous for the plates along its back. These plates were probably covered with skin, as fossils show grooves where blood vessels would have sat. Researchers think these plates would have been useful for signaling to other Stegosaurus species, perhaps to show off and attract a mate. The spikes on the tail of a Stegosaurus are nicknamed thagomizers and would have been used for defense against predators. The Stegosaurus put up a good fight. In 1914, paleontologist C.W. Gilmore recorded 3 Stegosaurus tail spikes that were broken or malformed during its life. which suggests that it had whacked other dinosaurs with such force that it broke its own tail spikes. Although the Stegosaurus didn't get chased by the Tyrannosaurus Rex, there was still plenty of interesting carnivores that shared the landscape with the Stegosaurus. The Allosaurus, for example, was a large theropod, growing between 12 to 13 meters long and 4.5 to 5 meters tall, giving the Tyrannosaurus Rex a run for its money in terms of size and ferocity. Evidence has been found showing that battles between Stegosaurus and Allosaurus probably took place, including an Allosaurus tailbone with a puncture wound matching the shape of a Stegosaurus tailspike. A Stegosaurus neck bone has also been found with bite marks that correspond to the shape of an Allosaurus jaw. A pelvis bone stab wound in an Allosaurus, which was the same shape as the Stegosaurus tailspike. The wound had no evidence of healing, so this blow may have been fatal. Between the start of the Jurassic Period and the beginning of the Cretaceous Period, huge evolutionary developments had happened, which the Cretaceous Period picked up and developed from when it started 145 million years ago to when it ended 66 million years ago. Flowering plants appeared for the first time in the Jurassic Period. In turn, insects like ants and butterflies appeared and diversified as the Cretaceous Period continued. Ichthyosaurs, which had appeared as early as the Triassic Period, came to dominate the ocean alongside giant mosasaurs. Tiny dinosaurs had grown into apex predators, which culminated in the Tyrannosaurus Rex during the Cretaceous Period. Early birds filled the skies and continued to increase and diversify as millions of years passed. Unlike the Triassic and Jurassic periods, the Cretaceous Period is only divided into two epochs, Early Cretaceous and Late Cretaceous. However, within these epochs are many different ages. The Early Cretaceous begins with the Berasian Age, before going through the Valanginian, Hauterivian, Bahramanian, Aptian, and Albian ages. The Late Cretaceous epoch begins with the Cenomanian Age, then the Turonian, Konyakian, Santonian, and Campanian ages, before finishing in the Maastrichtian Age. The climate was much milder during the Cretaceous period. North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa had become islands as the continents moved and reshaped the look of Earth. Initially, dinosaurs flourished during this time, but the dominant groups of the Jurassic period changed. Sauropods thrived in the south, but were rare in the northern continents. Ornithischians spread everywhere but Antarctica. For example, the horned Triceratops enjoyed the flora and fauna in the northern continents. And, of course, carnivores hunted other dinosaurs and scavenged carcasses around the Earth. In the south, the Spinosaurus terrorized fellow dinosaurs. But in the north, and during the Late Cretaceous, it was the era of the Tyrannosaurus Rex, which appeared about 85 million years ago. Although it didn't eat Stegosaurus, there was plenty for the T-Rex to feast on during its time as an apex predator. To help the T-Rex grow to its huge size, up to 12.3 meters in length, the dinosaur both scavenged and hunted. Herbivores like the Edmontosaurus and Triceratops were on the top of the T-Rex menu. According to paleontologist David Burnham, T-Rex was probably opportunistic and may have fed on carcasses. But that is not a very abundant or consistent food source. T-Rex had a hard life. They had to go out and kill for food when they were hungry. This dinosaur also potentially participated in cannibalistic practices. A 2010 study found evidence of T-Rex bones with gashes from T-Rex teeth. It's still undecided whether these dinosaurs fought each other or merely took advantage of leftover carcasses of their own kind. The Cretaceous period came to an end, and the world hasn't looked the same since. Many believe this happened because a large meteorite impacted Earth in the Yucatan Peninsula 66 million years ago. This impact had huge repercussions, causing climate disruption that wiped out about 80% of the world's animals and plants, including the dinosaurs. Regardless, the Earth had changed drastically during this time. Continents had moved, coasts had expanded, and oceans had cooled the planet. When non-avian dinosaurs were wiped out, the age of the mammals began. From 66 million years to now, the age of the mammals has followed a similar story to the Mesozoic era. Huge change and developments on Earth have occurred, with mammals adapting both to the environment and because of it. Mammals like the mammoth have appeared, developed, then become extinct. Animals we know today have evolved massively. For example, take the modern horse, whose evolutionary lineage began during the Eocene epoch, about 56 to 33.9 million years ago.